The worst things about this camera are also the same things that make it great. I've noticed a lot of negative comments around the Sony A7cii Mark II, and I think that's largely down to the fact of its price point. And at around $2,000, that's why there's a lot of confusion as to who this camera is for and what this camera is for. I'm also going to answer some questions that people have put on the YouTube community wall, and I'm going to put it up against my Lumix S5 Mark II that I'm using right now because they are very similar in price. Oh yeah, and there's one thing that I'm really impressed with this camera that I wasn't expecting to see. Now, just to be clear, Sony did send me this camera to test and review, but they did not pay me to say anything, and I don't get to keep the camera. Unfortunately, it's going back to them in a couple of weeks, so I'm gonna get the most use out of it as I can. So if you do have any questions that I don't answer in this video, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. I absolutely love the design of this camera. The silver top, the small body, the slim design, and the viewfinder off to one side makes it a perfect size for an everyday carry camera. Coupled with a full frame sensor, it makes it really appealing for someone like me who likes to go out filming out and about, but wants to stay a little bit more lightweight and discreet, but still wants that wide field of view. Every time I walk past the camera, I want to pick it up because it's just so comfortable to hold in comparison to a lot of the other full frame cameras. Yeah, it's a very nice looking camera. Well done, Sony. But because it's small, it does have its drawbacks, and that's where its best feature also becomes its worst. Let me explain. Imagine filming all day for a paying client, and then you get home, put the card into the computer, but it corrupts and you've just lost all of the hard work that you've done. It is the worst nightmare for a photographer or videographer. The A7cii II doesn't have dual card slots, it only has the one, which makes it not a pro camera. Now, yes, you obviously can get a professional looking image from something like this to a certain extent, so it can kind of mean that it is a professional camera, but at the same time, if you've ever been in a situation where a card has failed, you'll know how beneficial it is to have a dual card slot as a backup. Chloe says, I like this comment, not interested. One card slot makes it unusable for any professional purpose. You could do it. I did it when I first started because all the cameras only had one card slot, so you kind of had to do it. But now I wouldn't go back to doing professional work with only one card slot. It's too scary. I don't like it. So she's got a point.
I actually had a card fail on me the other week filming a wedding. Luckily, I had two card slots because we were shooting on the A7 IV. Started transferring it over to the laptop. Didn't work. If I had this camera and was using it, I'd have lost a client.
Come back if you can. What memory cards were you using?
Progrades.
Now, the first thing that I noticed about this camera's image quality is that the skin tones are the best in a Sony that I've ever used. However, compared to the Lumix, and now this video isn't a comparison video, it's still a little bit inconsistent. In different lighting situations, you don't get that consistent, pleasing skin tones all the time. So you do have to do a little bit of extra work on the color grading at times. But I've found that you have to be in the perfect light to get those really nice, natural looking skin tones.
Time, bro.
Yesterday, Danny boy's ringing me up going, what time should we leave in the morning? I'm like, I need a little bit of time to get some stuff ready in the morning. No, I'm gonna pee up at 7:30. We decided on 8:30 at the end. Ring him up. Oh, I'm tired. Kim.
Yeah, but I'm awake.
Barely.
I'm ready for the day.
Is this a face of someone who's ready for the day?
I'm ready. Are you zooming in there?
Marcus says A7 IV version 2. This is the thing, because people are getting confused and there's a lot of speak about, oh, this camera is the same as that camera, just in a different body. But it's not. Like, it might be on paper, but when you look at the performance and you put the images side by side, it's completely different. So please don't buy this camera thinking that you're gonna get the same image, because you're not. The skin tones on the A7 IV are a lot pinker than they are on the A7cii II. I was using the exact same lens, I just switched lenses when I was comparing the two cameras. The dynamic range and the highlight protection is so much better on the A7 IV, so you have to be careful when exposing outside or in harsh lighting situations. Having said all this, the colours and the image is still fantastic, and you can get a nice image from just about about any camera these days, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion from what I can see. I want to make sure that you go into buying your next camera with as much info as possible, because let's face it, they're not cheap. You might be wondering, can I use this as a B cam if I already own a Sony? Well, you could, just bear in mind that you're not going to get the image to match up perfectly as you might think.
Is it the best all-rounder hybrid for its size? For its size? Potentially. Yeah, I would say so, yeah. For its size, definitely. But for its price, no. For someone not invested into full frame yet, this or the Lumix S5 Mark II, how bad are the compromises compared to the compact size? For the same price, you could get the Lumix S5 Mark II. It's got a much better dynamic range, much nicer colours in a variety of lighting situations, whereas this one is great for a bit of fun. For example, if you've got the A7cii as your main video camera and you want something like a secondary camera just for going out and vlogging with and fun stuff, then this is the perfect addition because you can use all your full frame lenses. So it depends where you're coming from, it depends what you're doing. I'm actually looking to upgrade this camera. Overheating issue in multiple settings, example ambient temperatures. It's freezing cold here at the moment, so it's most likely that it's not going to overheat. Unfortunately, I haven't tried it in a warmer environment, so I can't comment on that. If it's like other Sony cameras, you might just have to be a little bit careful, especially with it being in a smaller body.
Let's talk a little bit about who this camera is for, what you can use it for, and the price point, because I think that is the issue with this camera. Now, I'd love a camera like this, but it's around $2,000 before you've even bought any lenses for it. It's the perfect camera for someone who's doing things like vlogging and wants something more compact and a really good image, but I just don't think it's that professional enough to charge this much for it. The people who have got that kind of money are going to buy the camera with a few more professional features that they need, unless you've got cash to throw away, basically. And what you are paying for is the size and the design over the image quality and the features. So you kind of have to choose which one it is that you need. And then on the other hand, there's the Sony A7 IV, which has the dual card slots, the extra dynamic range and slightly better image quality. So what would you prefer? Let me know in the comments.
Is the extra grip worth the price? So you can get a little grip to put underneath the camera so that your little finger doesn't slip off, so it's a bit easier to hold. It all depends on how you're using the camera. If I was going to get this camera, I'm using it as a small, lightweight, compact camera. Doesn't fly. To spend extra money on making it bigger, it's kind of against the point, in my opinion.
It's kind of a new wave of video cameras because this design is leaning further away from the typical DSLR type photo camera. With the FX3, they've designed a new thing without the viewfinder, and they've made this one really small and put it on the side. Not only that, but it's got that retro feel to it with that silver top bit. I think you can get it in black as well. With there being less dials and buttons all over the place, I've actually preferred it. A lot of the other Sonys that I've used, there's too much going on for me. I'm simple. I only want a record button and that's it. That'll do. That's all we need. I think all camera brands should offer something of this size in their lineup. So you've got the more professional end of mirrorless cameras, your smaller range that are still high quality image, but a smaller form factor, and then you should have your cinema cameras, and then maybe like a cheaper starter one. So you've got a nice range there to pick from wherever you are in your journey. Now, if you want to know how I color graded the footage in this video, I've actually put together a workshop showing you my simple 3-step process that works for any camera. So if you wanted a faster and more reliable system for color grading your footage, this is perfect for you. And you also get access to all of my LUTs free of charge. I've got some really exciting things coming up in the new year, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified of anything that's going on. But in the meantime, if you wanted to know more about Sony and see some comparisons, definitely check out this video here. This one there. Right there, look.